When you think of Jesus' apostles, who comes to mind first? Probably Peter, right? Or maybe John? But today, we're going to dive into the life of another really key figure, Saint Philip. His story is just, wow. It's this incredible journey about what it means to answer a call with total faith, to ask the honest questions you're really thinking, and to carry that message out into the world. All right, so here's how we're going to break down his life. First, we'll look at his calling, which was pretty much instant. Then we'll explore 3 key encounters from the Gospels that really show us who he was. We'll get into this one really big question he asked Jesus, follow his mission after the ascension, and then wrap it all up by looking at the legacy that he left behind. Sound good? Let's go. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in Bethsaida, this fishing town right on the Sea of Galilee. This is home turf for Philip and his friends Peter and Andrew. And here's the really interesting part. Philip was already a follower of John the Baptist, so he wasn't just some random guy. He was tuned in, He was actively waiting, looking for the Messiah to arrive.
And then it happens. The moment that changes everything. Jesus finds Philip and says just 2 simple words, follow me. I mean, think about that. No big explanation, no sales pitch, just a direct, powerful invitation. And Philip's response? Just as direct. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't ask a ton of questions. He just goes. Instantly.
Now, this is where it gets so fascinating, because what's the first thing Philip does? He doesn't keep this amazing news to himself. Nope. He immediately runs to find his friend Nathanael. But Nathanael, he's a bit of a skeptic. He has that famous line, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" It's such a human reaction, right? But Philip's reply is just perfect. He doesn't argue, he doesn't debate. He just says, "Come and see." And that's all it takes. Right from the get-go, we see that Philip is a connector, a bridge bringing people directly to Jesus. So, Philip's in. He's one of the disciples. But what was he actually like? Well, the Gospel of John gives us these 3 really telling moments, like little snapshots that give us a much clearer picture of the man himself and his relationship with Jesus.
And each of these encounters shows us a totally different side of his personality. We get to see Philip the pragmatist, the numbers guy. Then we see him as the gateway for outsiders. And finally, we get right to the heart of it. Philip, the sincere spiritual seeker.
Okay, first up, the pragmatic test. Picture this. There's this massive crowd. We're talking 5,000 people, and they're all getting hungry. So Jesus turns to Philip, of all people, and asks, where can we buy enough food for them? And Philip's brain just immediately goes into calculator mode. He's crunching the numbers, and he comes back with, look, even 200 days' wages wouldn't be enough for everyone to get even a small bite. He's completely focused on the practical, earthly problem, just moments before a huge miracle is about to happen. Right, the second moment really highlights his role as that bridge we talked about. A group of Greeks, outsiders, want to see Jesus. And who do they approach? Philip. It's an interesting choice. And he doesn't just rush in. He's thoughtful about it. He goes and finds Andrew. They consult with each other, and then they bring the request to Jesus. It just suggests he had this very welcoming but also careful approach. But this third one, this one is the big one. It happens during the Last Supper, and it gets right to the absolute core of who Philip was. It's a moment of just profound, honest spiritual longing. So Jesus is talking about knowing the Father, and you can almost feel Philip just bursting with this one question. He comes right out and makes this incredibly direct plea, Lord, show us the Father, and it is enough for us. He's just cutting through all the theology and asking for the one thing his heart desires most, a real, tangible connection to God. This isn't a question coming from doubt. It's coming from a deep spiritual hunger. And this honest question opens the door for a crucial teaching moment. Jesus' response is so gentle, but so profound. He says, have I been with you so long and you still do not know me, Philip? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. For Philip and for all the disciples, this was a pivotal moment of clarity. To see Jesus was to see the Father. But of course, Philip's journey didn't end with the ascension. Like the other apostles, he fully embraced the mission to take this message far and wide. His work was really just beginning. Early church traditions tell us his missionary work took him to Phrygia, which is in modern-day Turkey. He reportedly lived to an old age and even met with St. Polycarp, which is incredible because that connects him to the next generation of Christian leaders. He was buried in Hierapolis, and centuries later, his relics were moved to Rome, which just goes to show you his enduring importance in the church. So what can we take away from Philip's life? When you boil it all down, what's his enduring legacy? For me, it's a powerful, clear story of what faith in action truly looks like.
His legacy is really one of unwavering commitment and just genuine sincerity. He wasn't a passive follower, he was an active participant who inspired others and built those bridges between cultures, showing that the message was for everyone. And his ministry, it wasn't defined by fire and brimstone, but by gentle wisdom, heartfelt prayer, and selfless service. And his memory is still honored today across different Christian traditions. The Roman Church celebrates his feast day on May 1st, while Eastern churches honor him on November 14th. This ongoing veneration really speaks volumes about the lasting impact of his simple, dedicated life of faith. And that leaves us with one last powerful thought to reflect on. Philip's defining moment was his simple request to see the Father. As one source puts it, he asked only this favor because this was his only desire. That's a profound thing to ask ourselves. What is the one desire that truly drives us? Is it the same as his? Something to think about.